Good evening. Today, 126 million people watched their world crumbling around them. The earthquake, 8.9.
The big one hits Japan, a massive history-making earthquake, one of the largest ever measured.
Good evening, Brian. Japan is waking up to a morning Saturday here like no other.
Imagine losing an entire town in a matter of minutes. Imagine watching the ocean rise up and swallow everything you've ever known. Now imagine surviving. Today we're talking about one of the strangest and most haunting stories to emerge from one of the worst natural disasters in modern history. The reports of ghosts sightings after the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in Japan. Some people believe these were genuine supernatural encounters. Others believe they were manifestations of grief and trauma. Either way, the stories are fascinating, heartbreaking, and uniquely human.
On March 11, 2011, a massive earthquake struck off the northeastern coast of Japan. The earthquake measured 9.0 on the Richter scale, making it one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded. But the earthquake itself wasn't the deadliest part. The tsunami that followed was. Walls of water crashed into coastal communities, destroying homes, schools, hospitals, businesses, and even entire neighborhoods. More than 18,000 people were killed or went missing. Entire towns simply disappeared. For many survivors, there was no chance to say goodbye. Family members vanished. Friends vanished. Children vanished. One moment they were there, the next they were gone.
In the months that followed, strange stories began to circulate throughout the disaster zone. Taxi drivers reported unusual passengers. Residents claimed to hear voices in abandoned neighborhoods. Some people insisted they had seen loved ones walking the streets long after they had died. At first, these accounts were mostly shared quietly amongst friends and family, but eventually researchers, journalists, and academics began documenting them. And that's when the world started paying attention. The towns where the stories emerged. To understand why these ghost stories became so widespread, we need to understand the places where they happened. Many of the reports came from communities that suffered catastrophic losses during the tsunami, places where entire neighborhoods vanished, places where survivors returned to find nothing but foundations and debris. And places where thousands of people never came home. So I've heard of these taxi drivers in Japan in a place called Ishinomaki, where it's about to be mentioned. Apparently, these taxi drivers drive people who appear into their taxis. They're dead, they're ghosts, sadly, but they appear and they direct them to a place that doesn't exist anymore.
Many encounters have said they've seen it. So.
It's far too many to be a coincidence. And these are hardened taxi drivers in Japan. These are old school veterans of the trade. Like, they're not, I don't think they would lie about this type of thing.
There's too many encounters throughout this entire time. One of the hardest cities hit was Ishinomaki. Before the tsunami, it was a thriving coastal city with populations of over 150,000 people. When the tsunami struck, entire districts were overwhelmed. Buildings collapsed. Cars were swept inland. Families became separated within minutes. More than 3,000 people lost their lives in the city and surrounding area. Years later, residents would report seeing figures standing near former neighborhoods that no longer exist. Others describe hearing voices in empty streets. One local resident claimed they regularly saw a woman standing near the road that once led to her neighborhood. Whenever anyone approached, she would disappear. Whether these were ghosts or expressions of grief, the story became deeply woven into the city's collective memory. Very sad.
Kisenuma. Further north lay Kisenuma. The tsunami devastated the city. Entire sections were destroyed and massive fires broke out after the floodwaters receded. The destruction was so extensive that some survivors described the landscape as looking like another world. It was here that numerous reports emerged of people encountering deceased family members. Some claimed they saw loved ones walking through damaged neighborhoods. Others reported hearing familiar voices calling their names. Several residents spoke of vivid encounters in dreams so realistic that they felt less like dreams and more like visits. For many grieving families, these experiences provided comfort during a period of unimaginable loss.
Mainly because they weren't able, sadly, to give the proper burial to their loved ones.
Yeah, it was very much sudden, wasn't it?
Because they're very big on, like, you want to properly bury your loved ones. They never got to say goodbye, so
And,
it might be comforting.
And also the thing that the probably the government thought of at the time is that they wanted to, we need to sort of deal with the deceased to prevent plague.
Yeah, but sadly, most of them probably got swept back into the ocean.
Yeah.
And sadly, no one got a proper goodbye to their loved one, so maybe thinking they see their spirits can help them grieve. It could help. That's the way I look at it. Perhaps no town symbolizes the tragedy of the tsunami more than Mi-na-mi-san Riku. The community suffered tragedy. Sorry, it's making me want to cry.
It's right.
It's making me want to cry for poor people. Alright. The community suffered staggering losses. Entire sections of the town were erased. Many residents were never found. One of the most famous images from the disaster is the remains of the tower's disaster prevention center, where workers continued warning residents even as the tsunami approached. Many of those workers never survived.
Honorable.
Very. In the years following, the disaster reports emerged of strange figures appearing near the coastline in former residential districts. Residents described seeing silhouettes standing silently where homes once stood. Others spoke of an overwhelming feeling that they were not alone when visiting areas where family members had died. Again, there's no way to verify these accounts. But what makes them remarkable is how similar many of them were despite coming from different people. That's so sad that they stuck back to save others.
And also it seemed like the same people that stuck behind during that time remained.
Yeah, I've seen the images from that one. I remember years ago seeing that.
Do you think they're images of them standing watching the tsunami? Like, do you reckon it's one of those like replayed moments in...
It could be, or they didn't get to say like their final goodbyes even, but I remember seeing the pictures of the disaster zone afterwards, how badly it was destroyed.
Oh yeah.
It was horrible.
There's nothing left really, was there?
No.
A shared pattern. What's fascinating is that the stories from Ishinomaki, Kensen Numa, and Minami-san Riku often share the same themes. So people searching for homes, people searching for families, people appearing briefly before vanishing. Very few of the reports describe violent or frightening spirits, which in my opinion adds to the credibility.
Yeah, they were more lost.
Instead, the figures are often described as sad, confused, lost, almost as if they were trying to find their way after the disaster. And perhaps that's why these stories resonate so strongly with survivors. Because in many ways, the living were searching too. Searching for loved ones, searching for answers, searching for a way to move forward after experiencing one of the greatest tragedies in modern Japanese history.
It's true though, there's I saw a story where a gentleman lost his wife, and to this day he goes diving for her every single day. To this day.
Yeah.
To find her. The taxi drivers of Ishinomaki. Of all the stories that emerged after the tsunami, none became more famous than those involving taxi drivers. And what makes these accounts unusual is that many of them were reported independently by different drivers over several years. Most of the stories originated in around Ishinomaki, one of the cities hardest hit by the disaster. Taxi drivers would often work late into the night, transporting residents, aid workers, and construction crews through areas still recovering from unimaginable destruction. Then the strange encounters began.
One driver reported picking up a young woman several months after the disaster. According to the story, she appeared ordinary at first. She entered the taxi and quietly requested a destination, in a district that had been completely destroyed by the tsunami. The driver began the journey before eventually asking a simple question. "You know that area no longer exists, right?" The woman reportedly responded, "Have I died?" The driver turned around. The backseat was empty. The passenger had vanished. So I also found out from the documentary on Netflix, also that in some cases the taxi drivers do the whole journey and don't charge the fare because they feel like they're taking the spirit back home.
It's really sad because I don't know they passed away. But at least it means their death wasn't painful then.
It was sudden, wasn't it?
So, I mean, you have to look at it as a positive since it happened. That most of deaths, some probably were, but most deaths were just sudden. So they,
of course, we know that's not the case for all of them.
We know it's not the case for all, but most were hoping that, like, you want to hope that your loved one, if they did pass quickly. They had to. The silent passenger. Another driver described picking up a man who entered the vehicle without saying much. The passenger allegedly gave a destination and sat silently throughout the ride. When they arrived, the driver turned to collect payment. Nobody was there. The door had never opened. No one had left the vehicle, yet moments earlier, the driver had been convinced someone was sitting behind him.
One detail appears repeatedly in many versions of these stories. Taxi meters continued running. Drivers reported recording full journeys. Distances were travelled. Time passed. The fare accumulated exactly as if a normal passenger was inside. In some cases, drivers reportedly paid the fare themselves rather than remove the trip from their records. Yeah, because it could be seen as fraud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some said it was felt disrespectful not to. Others admitted they couldn't explain why. They simply felt that the passenger had needed one final ride home, and they were the ones to provide it.
To be fair, though, paying it maybe was like an honor thing.
Perhaps.
Because they're very honorable people. Like, they're so friendly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As we know, because we were very thankful to be able to go in 2023.
Yeah, very friendly people. Why researchers became interested. Eventually, these stories attracted academic attention. Researchers interviewing drivers discovered that many were reluctant to speak publicly about their experiences. Some feared ridicule. Others worried people would think they were inventing stories. Yet the accounts continued to surface. Not just once, not twice, but again and again. Different drivers, different locations, remarkably similar experiences. Whether these encounters were supernatural events, manifestations of grief, or something entirely remains impossible to prove. But the story became one of the most enduring legends to emerge from the aftermath of the tsunamis, and perhaps that's because they captured a deeply human idea. The notion that some people never get the chance to return home, and maybe, just maybe, they were still trying. The stories of the taxi drivers were only the beginning. Similar reports would emerge throughout the disaster zone, creating what many would later call Japan's ghost of the tsunami.
Ghost stories weren't limited to taxis. They included the streets. Residents in affected towns often described seeing figures stand amongst the ruins. People reported hearing footsteps in every house. Empty houses, Others claimed to People reported hearing footsteps in empty houses. Others claimed to hear doors opening and closing despite nobody being there. In some cases, survivors reported hearing children playing in locations where entire schools had been destroyed. Many of these reports came from ordinary people with no previous interest in the paranormal. Teachers, shopkeepers, construction workers, grandparents. People had spent their entire lives in these communities. So if it's coming from all these different types of people, that's a little bit too,
This next part's where it's like, oh, there's gotta be something.
Yeah, because it's like priests and mediums, isn't it?
Well, mediums maybe not, but like a priest, I don't see a priest lying to me about seeing a
Or,
spirit.
I remember, this isn't included in the script, but there was also a report from JSDF, so like the soldiers, of all these sort of ghosts.
Yeah.
And I don't think a soldier just wants to do their job at night. Soldiers who just want to do their job and say patrol, be on the lookout for survivors and stuff, want to be experiencing all these as either.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. You won't want to, would you?
Say if I'm exploring the ruins and I'm actually looking for someone and I keep hearing footsteps or voices in a total opposite direction,
it's gonna confuse me.
It's gonna redirect the search.
Yeah.
But obviously they wouldn't know that because, well, they're dead.
Yeah, they won't know.
So the priests and mediums. As reports increased, Buddhist priests found themselves facing an unexpected challenge. Many survivors sought spiritual guidance. Some believed their homes were being haunted. Others felt overwhelmed by the presence of loved ones who had died. Priests reported conducting numerous ceremonies intended to comfort grieving families and help restless spirits find peace. Some spiritual practitioners claimed they encountered people who appeared to be suffering from what they believed were spirit possessions. Whether these experiences were spiritual or psychological The demand for spiritual support increased dramatically throughout affected communities.
A different explanation: not everyone believes ghosts were involved. Psychologists and trauma specialists point out that survivors experienced extraordinary levels of grief. Many people lost multiple family members. Some witnessed horrifying scenes. Others struggled with survivor's guilt. Trauma can affect perception. Grief can create powerful experiences that feel completely real. Some experts suggest that many ghost sightings may have been manifestations, oh my gosh, of collective mourning, a way for the human mind to process unimaginable loss. In this interruption, the ghosts weren't necessarily spirits. They were memories, love refusing to disappear, the mind attempting to make sense of tragedy. It does kind of have a point there. People would be trying to figure something out.
Well, yeah, as well as
Think about it, people just sent their kids to school and then one day they never saw them again. I mean, your brain can't actually.
Or can you imagine
compute that?
Can you imagine couples squabbling, like, and then out of nowhere, either both or one of them's dead?
Yeah, or like, wife sends kids to school, sends husband to work, and then no one makes it home. I mean,
Yeah.
you can imagine the grief. They're really, really traumatized people.
I can't really say much, being from the UK. We don't exactly get earth-shattering disasters like this. Well, we don't. If we did, it would be catastrophic because we wouldn't know how to deal with it. That we have none of these in place really to deal with them, in my knowledge. In America, you guys have tsunamis. Do you have tsunamis? No, you have hurricanes.
I think tsunamis can hit like maybe Hawaii and stuff, but I don't think any hit in a long time. I think I'm right; they can't hit Hawaii, but I don't think any.
But you
hit.
get hurricanes, typhoons, tornadoes.
Yeah, flooding, a lot of flooding, and like tornadoes. Yeah, are the most deadly probably we have. But I do think tsunamis can hit Hawaii, but I don't think they've hit in a long time. So, wildfires we got really bad though.
Oh yeah, like California, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why these stories matter? Whether you believe in ghosts or not, these accounts tell us something important. They reveal how deeply people were affected by the disaster. The stories aren't about monsters or haunted houses, they're about loss. They're about people searching for closure. They're about communities struggling to move forward after experiencing unimaginable devastation. In many ways, the ghost stories became part of the healing process, a way of acknowledging that thousands of lives have been cut short far too soon.
It's almost like a way to keep them alive in a sense too. Our thoughts, as someone who usually spends their time explaining fantasy worlds and fictional horrors, I find these stories especially moving. Because unlike most ghost stories, these aren't really trying to scare us. They're trying to remember people, whether these were genuine paranormal experiences, psychological responses to trauma, or something in between. One thing is certain. The 2011 tsunami left scars that are still felt today. And perhaps the most haunting thing of all, it's the possibility of ghosts. It is the reminder of how many lives are lost and how many families were forever changed.
But also, if you think about it, like, it's also the fact that so many people just gone just like that.
Also, cities still aren't recovered.
The cities won't recover ever. Mm-mm. So, and to be honest with you, in that part of Japan, I'm no expert in Japan, but I know that in the East Coast, they always wait for the next one. It's just a common thing for them.
Isn't that where the reactor happened?
Yeah, Fukushima, yeah. We'll do a video on that in another day. Because Ishinomaki, it sits above Fukushima. Okay. Quite far. So it's actually quite scary how far the disaster happened to where it got affected.
Wow, okay.
So, what do you think? Were these genuine supernatural encounters, the effects of grief and trauma, or something we simply don't understand yet? Let me know in the comments. And if you'd like more stories involving mysteries, hauntings, unexplained events from around the world, don't forget to subscribe. I've been Toby.
Okay. I've been Anne.
And we'll see you next time.